After spending the last 2 weeks on the road, the NC State Wolfpack are headed back home to Carter Finley, looking for some home cooking. Might be time for some turkey hunting.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can sign up today, bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Download the app today or head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Turning the page to the fifth game on the NC State Wolfpack schedule. Returning home after spending the last 2 weeks on the road, they will face the Hokies of Virginia Tech. 7 p.m. kickoff in Carter Finley. We have another night game on the docket. It will also be on the CW network. Y'all know about them Wolfpack when we get on the CW, so that's exciting as well. Virginia Tech Hokies. And the overall storyline for Virginia Tech entering the season was how hot the seat was going to be for Brett Pry. Well, turns out it already overboiled because that man was fired after just 3 games of the season. So they entered this contest with a 1-3 record. They did bounce back and beat Wofford, so pat on the back there. They were able to go 1-0 so far with their interim coach. But Kenton, this is a very hobbled Virginia Tech team. In fact, we don't even know who might show up for the Hokies yet on Saturday night. There's some concerns about their depth chart. I would assume, being that tomorrow is Thursday, you'll get an official answer because the availability chart will be out. But Virginia Tech, obviously the season has already been turned onto its head. What should we expect from the Hokies on Saturday night?
You should expect a team that's desperate. You should expect a team that wants to prove something to the world. You should expect a team that, while they will be undermanned, because I'm sure that there are going to be more players that hop in the portal than have already hopped in. I'm sure that there will be. While they are going to be undermanned, that's going to be a team that's going to fight tooth and nail with everything they've got, at least initially. You've got to put this team down early. This is a team that's going to be battling. They're going to be, again, they're going to come out the gates screaming. They're going to come out of the gates giving you everything they got. But if you can withstand that early flurry, if you can keep your head when all about you is going, never mind. If you can just stay focused on winning this game early, I guarantee you the Wolfpack come out with a win. I am willing to bet any amount of money. If NC State comes out of the first quarter with a double-digit lead, we blow them out. It's not going to be close. But with that being said, if you play around, mess around, muck around, let them have a couple long possessions, or you waste a couple of possessions on your end, then you're going to be in for a 4-quarter brawl with a team that, with all due respect, against teams not named Wofford, they are allowing 37.6 points per game. That is South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Old Dominion. And I know what you're thinking. Kenton, those are 2 SEC games. They allowed the most points to Old Dominion. So this is not a situation where South Carolina and Vanderbilt ran it up, and then they played well against ODU, and those first 2 games are just driving the average up. No. Make this thing over so early that Dave's doing a little bit of scouting on the other side. Said, oh, I know they got a couple players from North Carolina on that Virginia Tech squad. Let's see if we can have some conversation. We can make some arrangements, if you will, to talk to some of these young men. But in all seriousness, you got to put this team, as the old saying goes, an animal leaps highest when wounded. This is a wounded animal. Don't let it linger. For those of you who are hunters, you know exactly where this is going. Put them down. Put them down. Put them out their misery.
For everyone that said that the Virginia Tech season would ultimately be determined in the first couple weeks of their season, they were right, because it has been. This is the epitome of a wounded turkey. And so for NC State being the Wolfpack, go feast. We know what a real-life pack of wolves would do against an injured turkey. Saturday night's result should not be all too different. Again, Virginia Tech has already fired their head coach. And in these first couple games, they started the season with a loss to South Carolina. But game 2, their game against Vanderbilt, that's where I want to focus here for just a second, because I think that was ultimately the breaking point already. They led Vanderbilt 20-10 at home in Lane Stadium. In the second half, Vanderbilt outscored them 34-0. That is the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think that was the exact moment that Brett Pry lost the locker room. Because then you saw one loss snowball into two losses. They welcome Old Dominion to Lane Stadium in week 3. ODU put up 28 points in the first half to a goose egg from the Hokies. At that point, it was a wrap. Virginia Tech is too proud of a football program to allow that performance to go on for any longer. So they cut off the head of the snake. Philip Montgomery is now the interim coach for the Hokies. He is a Texas football guy through and through, spent a lot of time at Houston, some time at Baylor. He was the head coach at Tulsa for about 8 years. Also recently had stops with Auburn and the Birmingham Stallions in the USFL. But he was the offensive coordinator for the Hokies this season, and now he's elevated to the head coach for the time being. This is a team that I think they have some talent still on the offensive side of the ball, but without proper direction, what all is it really worth, as you've seen so far through 4 weeks? So for NC State, this is the opportunity for a get-right game. If you play up to your own standard, this can be an easy win. And I don't like saying that because nothing should be considered easy this season, but this is the epitome of a game that NC State needs to come home, stand on business, correct some flaws that they committed in that Duke game, and then continue about their business.
Yeah, and I don't like the wording easy, but I will say this is a get-right game. This is a game where you've got to kind of purge some of those sins, and you're going to get a moment to where you can show, okay, I'm serious about fixing the problems that I've had. Because this is, again, I don't know how to put this more kindly than I already am. But with all due respect, this Virginia Tech team has been worse than people could have imagined in virtually every single category. And I mean that with everything that's within me, okay? That's just with all due respect to that Virginia Tech team. Kyron Drones, their dynamic dual-threat quarterback, is averaging 2.8 yards per carry. PU. We all knew losing Byshaw Tootin was going to be a blow to that offense. They are struggling to run the ball. They're struggling to pass the ball. They're struggling to stop the run. They're struggling to stop the pass. But other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Exactly.
That's where we're at with this team. You know, this is – if NC State comes out and lets this team get life, you will see the version of them that many thought that we would see coming into the season. I said I was out on Kyron Drones and company coming into this year. I said I'm not doing Groundhog's Day because I learned it from certain NC State players where I said every year is their year, and it never materialized, right? And so I realized, wait a minute, I'm doing that thing again where I'm falling in love with somebody and I'm saying, oh, by golly, I'm gonna make it to the altar with this one. Me and this one, oh, this guy, I'm gonna hitch my wagon to him. And I think, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. I'm doing it again. I'm telling you right now, this team can turn into that team that many people thought they could be, that even I thought they could be a year or so ago when I was saying, oh, man, that Tootin kid that they got is really good. Him and Kyron Drones and that read option is going to tear up the ACC. They're going to turn into that team if you let them get life, if you let them jump, fly, and do all that they want to do, and you're sitting here on your heels against this team, it's not going to be great. But if you come out and handle business early, that 10.5 spread is going to look like easy money. It's going to look like the sweetest, easiest bet of the week for somebody. But if you want to sweat it out, if you want to have a situation where you've got to fight claw, tooth, and nail to win this game, you can easily do that with this Virginia Tech team as well.
Like I said, they're not completely wiped out and the cupboards are empty of talent. Kyron Drones, although he has struggled this year and struggled a lot last year as well, I still have a lot of respect for him as a dual threat quarterback. He can beat you on the ground despite his limitations that he's shown so far this year. I promise you, NC State's defense has not been good enough to overlook anyone that we have remaining on our schedule. He can still throw it, he can still run it, and Virginia Tech can still find a way to exploit our defensive struggles. Now, NC State is a 10.5-point favorite at home. Reminder, you get 3 points for being at home. So on a neutral field, Vegas is looking at Virginia Tech, who has already fired their coach, and saying, NC State's probably about a touchdown better than those guys. That's not very good. And so NC State, this is a statement game. You have to lick your wounds from last week, point your head forward for the coming weeks. You still have a lot to play for left on your schedule. This is the type of game that your culture and your leadership and your never say die attitude, that alone should win you this game. Not to mention, you do have a high-powered offense. You can be opportunistic on defense because this is a Virginia Tech offense that has struggled a lot. I like NC State a lot in this game. And in just a second, we'll get into the details of Virginia Tech on offense and defense. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes will sweat out all the details. But Mazda brings this very same approach into how they craft each and every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every single detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. The all-wheel drive is standard in every crossover SUV, and you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like players, Mazda sweats out every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Our second Wednesday sponsor is Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all of their financial accounts or what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is quite literally for you. Monarch will do all of the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, getting a smart categorization of your spending. You can finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, only at monarchmoney.com. Middle portion of our Wednesday show, time to get into the details of the Virginia Tech offense and defense. We'll start on the offense. So, Virginia Tech so far this season through 4 games of play, they are averaging 369 total yards per game. That's good enough for 14th in the ACC. They average about 232 passing yards. That's 15th best in the ACC, and 137 rushing yards, which is 9th best in the ACC. So, conversely, when you're looking at NC State's defense, we allow 414 yards per game. That's 15th best in the ACC. And we allow 290 passing yards, 15th best in the ACC. And 123 rushing yards allowed per game. That is 8th best in the ACC. So, Kenton, this is a Hokie offense that is not very good, or at least they have not been good when they're not playing the likes of the Wofford Terriers. What's your inclination of how Kyron Drones will look against the NC State defense?
He will look against the NC State defense, how the NC State defense allows him to look.
Well said.
That is what will happen. With all due respect, there's a name that those of us who watch this show, you're obviously diehard NC State fans. Does the name Donovan Green ring a bell? Yeah, it's that Donovan Green, the guy from Wake Forest that used to give us fits. And he would be virtually non-existent for the rest of the season. And every time they came to play NC State, it was like, wait, do they have Randy Moss over there? Yeah, that guy. He's coming to town. So here's what I am telling you all, okay? This offense will look as good as NC State allows them to, for the same reason. Same thing that I said about Donovan Green also applies to Kyron Drones. You will have moments where you're like, oh my God, is that Randall Cunningham? If you allow him to do it. If you allow him to cook, he will cook. If you put him on the grill, he'll throw on his little hat and toss the shrimp and make his best hibachi chef impression on you. He'll do it. But the thing is, you have to apply pressure and play tight defense on their receivers. It is not enough to say, oh, we'll give them the underneath stuff all night, and if they can complete it, we're fine, and we'll get away with that. That would make Kyron Drones very comfortable. This is the first game where I would say, you know what? I think our defensive line is good enough to generate pressure man for man across the board. I don't think you need to send too many blitzes. And I know that that's against DJ Elliott's style. I know that that is flatly antithetical to who DJ Elliott is as a defensive coordinator. If you don't know what the word antithetical means, Google it. We're expanding your vocabulary on this show. But the reality is, if this needs to be a game where you are telling yourself we cannot give those large cushions because it's not working. With all due respect, it's not working. We've seen it against everybody. Did it work against Robbie Ashford, Grayson?
No, at least not in the first half. No.
Okay. What was the adjustment that they made in the second half? Guys, all of a sudden, those defensive backs start creeping up toward the line of scrimmage a little bit. And all of a sudden, things got much tougher for those guys. I'm telling you right now, if you are going to give those large cushions, congratulations. We're in for a dogfight Saturday night. Congratulations. There's going to be a lot of cussing, screaming, and there's going to be a post-game show where we're convincing everybody, hey, it's a win. We may not be excited about it, but it's a win, which I really don't want to do. The goal in this game should be to say, you know what? If y'all going to beat us man for man across the board, then do it. Do it. Show us you can do it. But you should not be giving up everything to this team. You should not just be saying, you know what? We'll allow this. We'll allow that. No. You got to earn it. You got to earn it because we have played some receiving cores where it's like, with all due respect, ECU's receiving core, man for man, in terms of speed, I think it's probably faster than Virginia Tech's. Like just pure speed. Just from a pure, if you were to line everybody up and run a relay, ECU's receiving core probably wins. So I respect it. I respect playing off against them. And we saw, even when you played off, Anthony Smith still did his thing and pew, thank God the quarterback overshot him. Other than Donovan Green, I don't think that they have anybody else that is of that ilk. Aiden Green is pretty good. I don't think he's like that. I don't think he's that guy. So, this is a game where whatever you give them, they will take because this is a desperate dog fighting for scraps. They'll take anything that you drop off your plate onto the floor. Make them earn it. Hold that bone up. Hold it up in the air and make them jump for it. And if Kyron Drones can hit those shots, you tip your cap. Hey, he hit those shots. Even when we talked about Robbie Ashford and the way that we played against Wake Forest, that third down conversion where we went press and he hits the shot on the sideline, you tip your cap for that kind of play because if Robbie Ashford, and in this situation, we're talking about Kyron Drones and his receivers, if these guys beat you with that all night, they played the best game that they're going to play all season, and you walk away with your head held high saying, well, damn, they got us. But don't let them hit you to death. Don't let them RPO you to death with bubbles and hitches. No. At least you got to throw a glance on me. At least you got to throw a deep post on me. I'm not letting you kill me all night with the little stuff underneath. You're going to have to bomb me. You're going to have to show me that your nerves are steady.
Could not agree more. If you're the NC State defense, you want to force Kyron Drones to have to beat you through the air, and by that I mean over your head. Don't give them anything underneath. Play them tight on the line. Kyron Drones is not an accurate enough passer to be able to beat you consistently down the field, and he's shown that this year. He showed you that last year. He's just simply too inconsistent. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a good quarterback when everything goes right, but I think your game plan for Kyron Drones should look very similar to the second half game plan that you had against Robbie Ashford. Contain him within the pocket because he can beat you with his leg. He's actually their leader in rushing touchdowns so far this year with 4. They only have 1 rushing touchdown by a running back. So Kyron Drones is doing the bulk of the work outside of Marcellus Hawkins, who's RB1 for them. But the point being, Donovan Green, their wide receiver, he is your most viable threat in terms of offensive skill players. Don't let Kyron Drones and Donovan Green pick you apart all night because they can do it. If you let them, they will do it. But those two names, Kyron Drones and Donovan Green, circle those two and make sure you know where they're going all night. And I like this opportunity for the NC State defense to kind of reintroduce themselves as we're not totally helpless out here. When we execute, we can still play at a relatively high level. That should be the opportunity for the Wolfpack on Saturday night. Now, switching gears to the Virginia Tech defense. This is where it could get fun for NC. Virginia Tech's defense is giving up an average of 371 total yards per game. That's 12th in the ACC. They're giving up an average of 213 through the air. That's 11th in the ACC. 157 on the ground, 16th in the ACC. So if my name is Hollywood Smothers, I just got a poop-eating grin on my face. I love this chance for NC State to exert themselves in physicality, open up the run game and let Hollywood cook. Hell, maybe even let Duke Scott cook a little bit more in this game because their run defense has been so bad so far. We know that NC State is actually 5th best in the ACC in run game, 174 on average on the ground. Kenton, how should NC State look to attack the Hokie defense?
Oh, this is simple. Attack them however you want to. There's nothing they're good. I mean this. There is nothing that they're particularly good at. Keep running your offense. Let the run set the table and then play action off of that. Let the run set the table, and then when they're thinking, all right, that we know that they're going to run that inside zone again, they keep gashing us with, you throw it over the top. Grayson, you said that they're 16th of 17 in terms of rushing yards allowed per game. You know what they're also 16th out of 17 teams in?
Is it points allowed?
Correct. Ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding. 16 out of 17 in points allowed per game. So what does that tell me? Either they're not playing complementary football or overall this defense is just not getting it done. And the reality is when you look at kind of what's happening in terms of how the stats look, how they do, or whatever is happening in that regard, if you're talking about Virginia Tech and what they've given up on the ground versus in the air and all that, the reality is they have not given up many passing yards because teams have whooped them so bad they don't need to throw the ball. Correct. You think I'm lying? Guess who's worst in the conference in yards allowed per attempt? Virginia Tech. They're the worst in the conference. And yet we're talking about their running defense and how bad that is. So this is a game where, again, all of the things that you have struggled with all year so far, get them cleaned up right here, right now. I believe it was the great Luther Vandross that made the song Here and Now. Because guess what? You've got to promise to do the things that you have not done yet faithfully for the rest of the season. And this game should be the first one where you show it. This game should be the first one where you say, we're dedicated to getting off the field on third down. We're dedicated to being in our gap. We're dedicated to gap responsibility. You know how I know you can show whether or not you're dedicated to gap responsibility against this team? You've got a quarterback in pass ball. That's how. Offensively, what are the things that have plagued us? We had some very questionable decisions made in terms of execution, led to some turnovers. Show that you're determined to take care of the ball for the rest of the season in this game. Show it. Show it. Offensively, if I'm Roper has been phenomenal so far this season. However, if somebody had to say what's your one complaint of him, when we have leads, this team gets too conservative.
Yeah.
This team gets much too conservative when we have leads. When the game is tied or we're trailing, we know we got to do it. We got to, everything we do, we're going to throw it at the wall and see what sticks. The minute we get a lead, inside zone time, ladies and gentlemen, screen time, boys. Can I interest you in a running back screen, perhaps? Maybe a bubble screen for the lady? How
about some read option?
How about it? How you feel about it? You know, but the reality is we need to address that. And again, put this team down early. When you get that lead, don't say, well, they're bad at stopping the run and Hollywood's been so good, we're just going to keep running inside zone. Run whatever has been working. Run whatever has brought you to the dance. And that's what I think this needs to happen here. Defensively, I'm not kidding when I say this. I do not see any players on that defense that I'm like, he's going to be an impact player on Sundays next year. Not one. Not one. All of their guys who could have potentially fit that description either have already entered the portal or something else is going on to make me say, oh, how good is that kid actually so far this year? So, you know, I mean, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, you've got to, if I'm talking about their defense and what this NC State offense needs to do, be who you are and do not slow down. Do not take your foot off the gas until you know this team has tapped out, until you see that white towel go in the ring, metaphorically, of course, and you see, oh, that team is broken. Don't give up and don't stop doing what you do.
The NC State offense against the Hokie defense is by far the biggest mismatch in this game. And so extending Kenton's point there, NC State needs to show up and be who they have been through 4 games. Kurt Roper needs to show up and be who he has been through 4 games. Because the offense, as we've seen, it's been good enough to win us a ball game. And against a Virginia Tech team that is already a broken team, that's got to be enough to get the job done here. And on the topic of the transfer portal, so far, I actually expected more names to enter, but only one so far that's of significance. That is Dante Lovett. He's one of their top cornerbacks. Now, again, being that this is on Wednesday and the availability report will come out on Thursday, I probably would expect more names to come out. But the Virginia Tech defense is actually laden with upper class. So this might be a scenario where they do retain many of their players. You're not having to try and exploit some inexperienced players that are getting some extra playing time. But it will be something to keep an eye on. I say all that to say NC State's offense needs to take advantage of this opportunity. This is a battered and beaten Virginia Tech team. They're just trying to essentially get through the rest of the year at this point. They may try and rally around the interim coach, but off to a 1-3 start, and they've looked bad in their 3 losses. NC State has no reason to give them any hope in Raleigh on Saturday night. Coming up next, we're going to get into some Hump Day mailbag. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third Wednesday sponsor is FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're just watching your team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's simply the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com in order to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If it hits, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. FanDuel, play your game. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. Now time to get into our Hump Day mailbag. Here we go. First one comes from Steve Steinbeck. He says the non-call at the end of the first half, which was the interception that CJ Bailey threw, was a potential 14-point swing. Pack special teams are failing. Defense, well, no comment. Pack continues to play only 1 half instead of 4 quarters. Kenton, your thoughts?
Steve, congratulations. You see the same thing that everybody else is seeing, and this is a very apt comment to describe it. The no call on the interception. By the way, I swear on everything I love, for all of the money that Duke fans and graduates pay for their education. Actually, let me not say Duke fans, because we know they're another one of those schools. You ask their fans where you graduated from, you get some very interesting answers. But for all the money that Duke grads pay for their education, I, for the life of me, do not understand why they don't understand the concept of a neutral zone. Now, if we want to go with the argument of the ref didn't call it, therefore it didn't happen, I'm fine with that. I'm very fine with that. As a defensive lineman, I have for a very long time said we need to get rid of the rule holding, because if it happens on every play and the refs just choose to call the most egregious ones, get rid of holding as it exists and come out with something that is actually enforceable on a regular basis. So I'm fine with that. But to say that that wasn't a no call, come on, man, what are we doing? But the special teams, same old stuff, just a different day, right? As Ace Hood would say in the song Hustle Hard, same old stuff, just a different day in terms of special teams for this team. And defense, no comment. I got a few comments, but we'll save them because I'm trying to keep this show's clean rate. So in terms of playing half and not a full game, I honestly, when I look at that game, I don't even think that we only played half. I would just say for the entire game, the problems that plagued us continue. For the entire game, from the first quarter through the fourth, we could not get off the field on third downs on a regular. And that's not to say that we did the worst job that we've done all season, because we converted at a higher rate than them. We just allowed critical third downs at critical points. End of the game, locked on look of the week, right? That's kind of what we get there. And again, everything that you said here, Steve, is spot on.
What I'm still hung up on the CJ Bailey interception there right before halftime was the compounding of mistakes. And was it offsides? Yes, and it should have been called. There's no doubt about that. However, the fact that we didn't have a play called and we still snapped the ball, again, I get why you're trying to catch them offsides, but to not have a play call and still snap the ball, to me, that's a mental mistake. And then third, for CJ to take the ball and seemingly panic and just kind of float it over the middle, hoping that something good would happen. A comedy of mistakes all in like a 5-second span. and it cost us every bit of probably 14 points. To consider the idea that you would have been up 27-14 at halftime is sickening when you consider how that second half ended up playing out. There was just so many opportunities that NC State routinely handed away, and that is by far the most irritating part of losing a game like that one. So, through 4 games, NC State has still yet to complete a 4-quarter effort. Hopefully Saturday night will be the first in the year. Next one comes from T to the Rock. You can make the argument that if the Pack played better on special teams, we would have won the game despite the turnovers. You can't be bad in 2 of the 3 phases no matter how good the offense is. Defense or special teams need to figure it out quick before the schedule turns brutal. Kenton, this reminds me of something that you've said on here a lot. Pick a struggle. You cannot be bad at all 3 phases of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew, and here's the thing. Here's why I tell people I walk away from that game more confident than I was before. This offense had, count them up now, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 turnovers, and they still put up and did not get a single turnover from the defense and still put up 33 points and had multiple drives, not one, but multiple drives of 90-plus yards. That is, people don't understand how high-powered of stuff that is. Even if you take away the turnovers, telling me that your team is going to put up 33 with multiple drives of 90 yards, that's high-powered stuff. Somebody has to come along with them. Somebody has to come along with them. Special teams, come along with them. Be special in a good way. Be special in a good way. Not special in a God bless your heart way. That's not what we need here. Defense, like we've talked about, be opportunistic. We don't need turnover after turnover after turnover. Just 1 or 2. In those first few games, Grayson, did we have any 3 turnover games in the first couple?
No.
Not one time did we have a game where we went +3 or +4 in terms of turnovers. And yet we still won because of what? 1 thick 6 here. 1 game sealing interception there. Just get us the ball back every now and then and we'll be okay. But to have a team that turned the ball over against Elon, for Christ's sake. Elon took away the ball from Duke more than we could. Come on. Somebody got to come along. Somebody got to come along with the offense and say, this season means that much to me. This game means that much to me. This drive means that much to me. And right now, it just doesn't for special teams. We're getting field goals blocked when they're not even bringing a rush. When they're not even bringing a big-time rush. When they're not even rushing 8, 9, 10 guys. 4 guys rushed, and we couldn't block 4 with 9 guys to block. What do you want? What is CJ Bailey supposed to do about that? So, T to the Rock, I absolutely agree. Somebody has to come along with the offense.
And last one, which is kind of on the same exact point. This comes from Boutique Hunter. They say, new game plan for the rest of the season. Try to score 100 points. It's our only play. We're lucky that UVA threw that terrible pick in the end zone to end the game. They were driving down our throat at will. Fact, if you score more points than the other team, you're going to win. Offense has to do it. If they don't, we lose. Does this not sound exactly like everything we talked about for the 8 months leading up to this season? We tasked this team with the offense leading the charge. We tasked Kurt Roper with being aggressive, playing up tempo, getting the ball into your best hands every chance that you get.
Yep.
After last Saturday in Durham, do you see what we are talking about now? This team is going to have to try and win shootout performances. And they have the weapons to do so. Like we just talked about, 33 points after giving the ball away 4 different times. That's still pretty impressive because Duke's defense, they've looked a little suspect so far, but I still have a lot of hope that they're pretty decent defense. NC State's offense can be that much better, but you got to take control of the ball when you have it in your own hands. The offense is going to have to lead the way. It's going to have to be Saturday night, next week against Campbell, on the road in South Bend, down in Miami. The rest of the way, the offense has to take it upon themselves, saying that if nobody else is going to do it, we're going to do it. That leadership on that side of the ball, it's going to have to take some massive steps.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we knew that this was coming. Grayson and I said before the season, we're going to have some games that resemble the old Big 12.
That's
Quick
right.
question, Grayson. How many points were scored in the last game?
78, wasn't it?
78. So we were at nearly 80 points there.
Whew.
And even if the total score would have reached up to 85, that still would not have guaranteed us a win, right? Yep. So even if we say you take away one of the offense's turnovers and convert it into a touchdown, you're still short. This is the type of stuff that I mean in terms of defense. Just be opportunistic, man. Just get takeaways, turnovers here and there. It has to happen. It has to. If we don't have the firepower to regularly snuff out offenses, I'm not expecting Peyton Wilson to walk through that door. I'm not expecting Bradley Chubb, BJ Hill, and company to walk through that door. I'm not expecting that. But what I am expecting is give me a timely turnover or two. When you say pick a struggle, that applies to every individual sect of the game as well. If I'm talking about the defense, if teams are going to drive it, if teams are going to be teams that if we're going to have a situation where teams get to drive as much as they want to, in terms of we are not that great at stopping short runs and we're going to give up 3 to 4 yards in a cloud of dust every time, that's fine. But can we play aggressive on the back end? If we're going to play soft on the back end, that's fine. But can we please stop the run? You have to do something. Everybody knows I'm a huge Lions fan. And one of the biggest improvements that happened with the Lions was their defensive coordinator at the time, Aaron Glenn, said, you know what? Whatever teams do, they're not going to be able to run the ball on us no more. We may leave our corners on an island. You may look at Terrion Arnold and start licking your chops. You might start seeing sweet baby rays and ribs so tender, you put them on the table and they fall off the bone. But guess what? You're not going to be able to run the ball. What is our calling card right now on defense? What is our calling card to say, when you play NC State, defensively, this is coming? Right now, I know our calling card offensively, Hollywood. Right now, Hollywood to Rollywood. The boy is still running right now, right? That's what the calling card is on offense. And you've got one of the best young quarterbacks in the nation. But, you've got to keep going with this thing. And I'm going to say one last thing before we, get out of here. The reality to me is this. This is a really good team, and I don't want the Duke game to have everybody now out on this team, because I believe that every single unit on the team has 3 types of games, okay? 10, you get about who you are. 1 game a year, you get your worst game of the year. 1 game of the year, you get your best game of the year. That could have been the offense's worst game of the year. Could be. With that amount of turnovers, that could have been their worst game of the year. Defensively, not sure. Not sure. I hope that was their worst game of the year, but not sure. Not sure. Special teams, that could have been their worst game of the year. I hope pray that was their worst game of the year. But this could just be that was their worst game of the year in Durham, and then you bounce back and get right. But they have to show it starting Saturday night.
Time will tell. This is a great chance to have ahead of themselves on the table. It's a battered and ultimately broken Virginia Tech team. NC State has a real opportunity to rise above and get back in the win column. That'll do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on the Virginia Tech Hokie season so far up to this point. Your thoughts on firing Brent Pry, the interim coach Philip Montgomery, the offense, the defense, anything in between. Let us know your thoughts on Virginia Tech. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Thursday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.